Everyone says the key to a healthy relationship is communication. But what does that actually look like? And how do I really improve my communication? Many factors, of course, but the main answer lies within your nervous system and what it's trying to tell you. Welcome to Heart Talks, where I help people understand and regulate their nervous systems to transform their communication and level up their relationships. Whether you are calm, anxious, or even starting to shut down altogether, your nervous system is sending you these signals for a reason. Learning to listen and regulate them is the number one thing you can do right now to improve your communication, so I'm going to share some ways to do that. Before we begin, I recommend jotting some of this down. Grab a pen and paper before we start. If you like writing prompts with a little bit more structure to help you get started, check out my free PDF down below. It's called How to Handle Hard Conversations. It's more of a guided experience to give you a very real tool to actually bring with you into your next hard conversation. So check that out. First, let's take a quick look at these signals our nervous systems send in any given moment and how they affect our communication. The first one we've all heard of, the fight or flight response. It's when we're facing a threat, our unconscious nervous system activates various things in our bodies to prepare us for action. This gets activated in many ways and many contexts, not just when someone wants to physically or verbally fight. It also makes communication pretty difficult, as you can imagine. There's another response you may have heard of, and even if not, you've definitely experienced it. This is the freeze response. This is a perfectly normal thing that animal nervous systems evolved millions of years ago to become less visible to predators. These days, our predators look a little bit different. They might be our micromanager boss, listing all of our tasks for us nice and loud for everyone to hear, and our response might be to simply nod along as our body starts to stiffen up. Not a lot of communication can happen in that state. And, well, what about when there's no threat to deal with, no overbearing authority figure to respond to? Well, then your nervous system is regulated. It's calm, it's open to the experience, and you have a sense of choice for how to respond. A very nice visual frame for thinking about these states has been popularized by functional life coach Mastin Kipp, whose work I really admire. It comes from the work of neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Porges and renowned therapist Deb Dana. This is the image of traffic lights. So a green light is that nice and regulated state where you're able to choose and navigate your experience. It feels in the body calm, open, connected, aware of what's going on. Green communication sounds like, thank you for the reminder. And I have all of this written down, so I'm going to start working on it right now. This is when communication tends to flow more easily. Yellow, the next light down, is that fight or flight response to a threat. We're responding with some sort of action. It feels in the body like tense, anxious, maybe hot and sweaty, some urge to move, right? We're responding with action. Yellow communication sounds like quick fire responses and interruptions and defensiveness. Things like, you don't think I know that already? Or just a quick snappy, okay, fine, got it. And lastly, the red state is our freeze response. We're shutting down. We have a limited response or no response at all. In our bodies, this feels heavy, stuck, helpless, and there's a lot of shame that tends to come up for a lot of us in this red state. Red communication sounds like, very frozen, right? And for many of us, our internal dialogue is this very harsh criticism of ourselves and perhaps of the other person in this red state. We need to be able to recognize when we're approaching that yellow light so that we can slow down, and when we're approaching that red light so that we can stop and honor what our bodies are telling us. Simple tools that I want to give you right now to do this. Breathe. Notice, breathe more. When we can breathe and notice what that yellow fight or flight response looks like and feels like, we don't have to speak from that place, from that defensiveness and that reactivity. We can simply let it be there and let it inform us. Notice how I'm not saying to change or reject those feelings or that state. A yellow state might feel hot in our face and tense in our chest, and this is uncomfortable. We're feeling frustration and anxiety. These things are uncomfortable. And it might sound like snappy comebacks and gotcha moments in our thoughts, And all of those things are uncomfortable. All of it is also vital information for us to have access to. So we breathe and we notice it and we let it all be there instead of immediately trying to change it. Many coaches out there are on this hype train of change your thoughts and change your life. And that does work. When you change your thoughts, you do change your life. When you change your limiting beliefs, your life does change, and it doesn't last very long because you've bypassed all of your embodied experience that's causing those limiting beliefs. While many coaches are telling you to change your thoughts and change your life, not me. I want us to use that free data that our minds are giving us. I want to listen for the emotions and the needs underneath the thoughts. So while all of that data is useful, where I like to start is in the body for two reasons. First, these body sensations are almost always accessible to us to direct our attention to. I don't have to be functioning well cognitively to notice that my chest is starting to tense up and my face is getting hot and sweaty. Second, honoring these sensations in our bodies and just letting them be there and giving them some of our attention is already starting to soothe my experience. It's already starting to soothe the emotions associated with these sensations in our bodies. I'm already regulating myself, which is the best thing I can possibly do when I'm in a yellow state or in a red state. So we use these sensations as cues to pause or to stop altogether. These are the cues that we're approaching the yellow or approaching the red light. Walking around, for example, nice and regulated, enjoying the sunshine, and then my partner calls me and asks what I had planned for dinner. Suddenly, my chest and my neck are tightening up. My heart rate increases, my face is getting hot, my peripheral vision is closing off, and I'm looking down at my feet. Noticing these things in my body, I don't have to act upon the other stuff that also came up in that moment, like the frustration and the confusion, the thoughts of, why the hell is that my sole responsibility? Did you think about what to have for dinner? Imagine how that conversation goes. So it's the same process with a red or freeze type response. Learning what our body feels like in that state and the emotions and the thoughts associated with it allows us to honor all of those responses, that whole experience, instead of pushing through it or rejecting it altogether. With practice, a single breath is enough that you can notice all of that, let it be there, and choose your response. This is the key. Imagine having the power to go from, in this very stuck state, to saying, I need a moment, let me call you back. Giving myself that single breath is already regulating me, and now I have a moment to get myself unstuck. So this is the beginning of how we can work with our nervous systems to transform our communication. This applies to all of the hardest conversations you can imagine. Setting boundaries, making major life decisions, asking for a promotion, asking someone out on a date, talking about where the relationship should go, expressing a desire of some kind. We dive much deeper into this in my coaching practice, and you can join me for free on September 8th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm doing a 90-minute free group coaching call to discuss these concepts and apply them to your most common communication struggles in a group setting where we're all supporting each other and working through it in real time. Check out the link down below to sign up and pop over to the website and check out my other offerings. As always, let your heart do the talking.